This is the morning of the 21st of December. Clip put up by Stonecraft. Former FBI agent reveals rumors about cross-eyed Kash Patel's secret life in Las Vegas. You're going to find this to be really interesting. Plays for just under 10 minutes. Have a listen.
Kash is basically living in this house. We don't know if he's living there with this billionaire donor, Michael Muldoon, in the house together, which is strange. And where is Kash's girlfriend in all of this? Does she live there at the house as well?
There's kind of a rumor intel kind of passing around through the FBI, folks that have come through whistleblower channels, folks that I know personally, that have kind of intimated that this may be more than just two men living together.
Is the director of the FBI caught up in an Israeli honeypot operation? And Alexis Wilkins is nearly 20 years younger than Kash and also works for an NGO that's basically Israeli intelligence.
Kash Patel is deeply closeted, lives with an old gay man in Las Vegas, and is being blackmailed by his honeypot girlfriend. That's the latest viral theory about Kash and Alexis Wilkins. And y'all, the receipts are absolutely wild. Former FBI agent Kyle Serpahin dropped some exclusive info about Kash's living situation, and it turns out he lives with billionaire and Republican Party donor Michael Muldoon in Michael's Las Vegas mansion. Meanwhile, Kash's girlfriend Alexis Wilkins lives in Nashville, where she's pursuing her country music career.
I have the photos here. This is the house. This is the house here in Vegas. So we'll put these up on the screen here. So from your sources at the FBI, Kash is basically living in this house. We don't know if he's living there with this billionaire donor, Michael Muldoon, in the house together, which is strange. And where is Kash's girlfriend in all of this? Does she live there at the house as well?
Everything I can tell, she lives in Nashville, so not there. But the other question that I've had people bring up, including people that are homosexual FBI employees that are pro-Trump, which is not a big subset of the world, let's just be real, there's not a ton of that, just if you were to put those categories together, have indicated to me that they don't really know a lot of 50 or 40-something-year-old Indian men that are unmarried and living with other men that don't have something going on.
And this isn't just some made-up rumor either. News outlet Nevada Independent reported that Kash has been registered at the address since January 2022. The report also says that Kash cast mail ballots from Muldoon's luxury residence in the presidential primary in February 2024, the state and federal primaries that June, and then in the November general election. The New Republic reported the same thing back in February, and this subheading says, the new FBI director says he plans to WFH and run things remotely from Las Vegas. But why won't he answer about who else lives in his house? The article goes on to say that Kash wants to live part-time in Las Vegas and work remotely from a home owned by Michael Muldoon, a Republican Party megadonor who runs shady timeshare companies. And according to this report, Patel and Muldoon even took a golf trip together to Scotland back when the FBI director was a federal employee on the National Security Council, which could be an ethics violation. But hold up, there's more. There's also this article published in West Hollywood Online that also reported on Kash's strange living situation. However, they took it a step further and insinuated that Kash's anti-LGBTQ plus activism and the fact that he lives with a man could mean he's hiding something about his domestic life. The article says the public doesn't need to know whether Patel is gay, straight, or somewhere in between. Of course, two men sharing a residence is not inherently unusual, but when that living arrangement includes shared legal services, political donations, coordinated business activity, and golf vacations abroad, the distinction between roommates and something more becomes, at minimum, a question about which people will speculate. But let's be real here. It is highly unusual for a 45-year-old man who's supposedly in a committed relationship with a woman to live with his male roommate. Sure, that alone isn't proof that he's closeted, but it's definitely not something you see every day. So, does Kash Patel live in Las Vegas with a man while his girlfriend lives in Nashville? Well, according to former agent Kyle Serpahin, he heard from multiple other FBI insiders that Kash and his roommate might be more than just good buddies.
There's kind of a rumor intel kind of passing around through the FBI, folks that have come through whistleblower channels, folks that I know personally, that have kind of intimated that this may be more than just two men living together, which, by the way, in their 40s and 50s is a pretty strange circumstance. I don't know any of my friends that are doing that. And then the last thing we've been hearing is that the protective detail is having to wake up Kash Patel on a regular basis because he's out partying all night in Washington, D.C., maybe in Las Vegas as well. And then we heard exactly the opposite said by Dan Bongino when he went out on a Fox interview saying, he's there at 6 a.m. and he's working until, from 6 to 7 p.m. and he's there all day long. And everything I hear is the exact opposite of that.
So now the internet is obviously trying to dig up receipts that could prove this theory, including old pictures of Kash. One person shared this photo of Kash in a leather outfit, and they wrote in the caption, "You're telling me this guy might have a secret gay scammer life partner? I can't believe it." And then another user shared a before and after photo of Kash, saying that Kash used to look like a twink. By the way, that photo of Kash wearing leather and cowboy boots is photoshopped. However, Kash posted it himself, which doesn't make it any less weird, but there's something else that a lot of people online have picked up on. So in case you missed it, last month, Kash fired an FBI agent simply for having a gay pride flag on his desk. The agent got a letter signed by Kash accusing him of sharing an inappropriate political message at work. So let's think about this for a second. This is what Kash is worried about? Instead of releasing the Epstein files or solving Charlie Kirk's murder, he's doing the most to show he's anti-LGBTQ. That's a strange set of priorities for an FBI director. And
looks like he's a poo pusher like Obama.
It's exactly why a lot of people are now saying Kash might be overcompensating for something. Because he's out here firing employees over a pride flag, flying on the taxpayers' funded private jet to see his girlfriend perform. The girlfriend he doesn't even live with. And now he's crashing out on X, defending Alexis and saying she's done more for this nation than most will in 10 lifetimes. What? Kash Patel's 26-year-old country singer girlfriend has done more for this nation than most? So she's done more than veterans? More than first responders and healthcare workers? This is an absolutely unhinged statement to make. And you see why so many people think Kash might be overcompensating, because why is he doing the most to convince us he's in a genuine relationship with this woman? Sure, this alone doesn't prove he's closeted. However, it's no secret that people who act like this are often projecting because they're uncomfortable with their own identity. Either that, or Kash is absolutely terrified of his girlfriend. And that brings us to another wild turn in this story. So you know how there's been a lot of speculation lately that Alexis Wilkins is a honeypot intelligence asset and that Kash is essentially controlled? Well, Alexis just filed a $5 million lawsuit against former Utah candidate for the U.S. Senate, Samuel Parker, and conservative influencer Elijah Schaffer, and she alleges they defamed her by calling a honeypot. But here's the thing, they never actually called her that. In fact, Elijah Schaffer shared parts of Alexis's lawsuit on X, and it turns out he never said Alexis was a honeypot or an asset. Instead, he just reposted something another user shared, and that's why he's getting sued.
Over the weekend, I received concerning news that I was being sued for $5 million by Kash Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins. And the reason why might actually shock you. About a couple months ago, I posted this photo on the public social media platform X. I posted it with no caption, no suggestions of any malintent or any slander, defamation, or criticisms of character. I did so attached to an X post shared by another account that I'm not connected to that talked about government agents being compromised. Now Alexis Wilkins is saying that I owe her $5 million for damages, the exact evaluation of my company, and if I cannot come up with that money, then I'm going to have to shut down my business, give up all of my digital assets and my entire voice online in order to pay her back. So why does Kash Patel's girlfriend want to silence me?
Now this next part is absolutely insane. So according to Schaffer, the real reason Alexis is suing him and Sam Parker is not because they called her a honeypot, but because he dared to question the so-called closest ally of the U.S.
It comes down to the lawsuit itself. Before anyone jumps to conclusions and says, well, don't say that she's a honeypot, I'd like to say, I never did. Defendant frequently posts anti-Israel rhetoric accusing Israel of controlling the United States and its politicians.
So in other words, this lawsuit is really not about Alexis, but about trying to silence anyone who raises valid questions about foreign influence on the U.S. government officials. Meanwhile, Sam Parker backed Elijah's comments about the lawsuit, and he also reposted a tweet from Candace Owens who said, Kash Patel has to step down. This is excruciatingly embarrassing. He's a teenager in love representing the federal government. But is Kash really in love Or is there something else going on here? Because when you put it all together, Kash living with a man, FBI rumors about him being in the closet, Alexis crashing out and suing people over social media posts, well, let's just say the internet is talking and everyone is asking the same questions. Is Kash Patel being blackmailed with information about his rumored DL lifestyle? Did Alexis Wilkins really fall in love with Kash for his personality and looks? Or is she an operative and a handler sent to control him? Sure, it's all speculation right now, but this story won't go away easily no matter how many lawsuits they file, and sooner or later, the real truth is going to come out.
If she's in love with him for his looks, she needs to get a pair of glasses and see a mental health expert. Looks like Kash is like Obama. Huh? Here's a guy that's in his 40s living with another guy that's a full-blown homosexual. I wonder if they sleep in the same bedroom. Huh? I'll attach the link. Pass it along, and thanks for listening.